brothers and sisters. Why am I yelling at you? We're all friends here. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, welcome all. We are here. I am here. We're all here. I am inexplicably humbled and excited and keen to share a project that I've been working on for a little while now, and something that I've been contemplating for a while. I would say too long, only because I've been really excited to do this, and it's taken me longer than I thought, but that is okay. So without further ado, I present to you XNIGHTSAINT. Again, it's taken me a while to get here, but I'm here. I'm here. We're doing it. This is the company that I truly wish to spend the rest of my life building, and I can't wait to do it. And I can't wait to have all of you on the ride, if you will have me, and if you will be on the ride with me. So some of you might know me from the New Animal podcast. Some of you know me as the filmmaker behind Strawberry Flavored Plastic, which came out in May 2019 through Breaking Glass Pictures. In reality, most of you probably don't know me at all, which is totally fine. So fans of New Animal, all 8 or 9 of you, I'm kidding. I had a really good audience for that show, and I'm very grateful for everyone that tuned in. New Animal's not going anywhere yet, just to let everyone know at the outset. It's on hiatus right now. I'm sure there will be more to it and more episodes coming, but obviously in building something new, it does take some time. So New Animal's been on hiatus, but don't worry, there's probably going to be more to come. But we'll take it step by step. So what's happened? What's going on? What's with this new direction? For the last, actually many years, I've considered myself a man of faith. I've opened and closed many days with prayer, perhaps the vast majority of them. But that's sort of where it ended. Some of you who are on the closer side of me know this. It isn't something that I've really been terribly vocal about, which is sort of a problem in and of itself, but we'll get to that. So I have had what I would consider a very personal relationship with God and with Jesus for all of those years. I'd say for the last 15 years or so, but I didn't do much else. I realized that this was a situation of convenience for me and of laziness, frankly. I prayed largely because it made me feel good. And although it's most certainly not for me to say, I would like to think that it was appreciated. And I think most of the time it was coming from the right place. But again, that's sort of where it all stopped. And over the past few months, the past 7 or 8 months, I've grown a lot closer to my faith and become more engaged with it. I've become more engaged with my faith and closer to God and closer to Jesus. So you might ask, what does all of this have to do with my filmmaking career or making films in general? As my faith has grown, I've considered a lot about what my role is in society and what I can possibly do to make the world a better place. And as a filmmaker and as someone who has wanted to do nothing with his life since he was like 5 years old, I know I've talked about that a lot on New Animal, but the only thing that I've really ever wanted to do is make films since practically I was born. And I began to realize that there were many things that I would like to say using this art form. There are a lot of things that in many societal and cultural aspects are not being said, or people are afraid to say. And there's a lot in me that I would like to express. And I think that not only talking about, but living my faith is something that I need to do. And I need to do it publicly. And like I said earlier, private faith is good, but I think living your faith and living it proudly is very important. So there's a lot that I want to express via other methods as well. Filmmaking is going to be the major component of XNIGHTSAINT. And I think it's essential for me to be transparent about this, so I'll admit it. I struggled with this decision early on. There's a certain veneer and a certain luster attached to the film industry, to that career that you've dreamt about since being a small child. I've gone after it for so long. I've launched companies. I've written scores of feature films. I've done a lot. I started New Animal Motion Pictures. We started that podcast and had a blast. We had amazing guests on that show and still might in the future, and people did tune into it, which meant a lot. And so I wavered. I wavered a lot. I reworked this outline endlessly. And also, so for those of you watching right now on YouTube, thank you. Please subscribe. I'll rant about that later. And for those listening to it, if I'm a little slow, I have a camera. I haven't done this before on camera, really, too much for a whole episode, unless it's been on Zoom during an interview. So I've got a camera, I've got some notes, which I will consult, as you can probably even hear me doing. So anyway, mini rant over. But I mean, I edited this episode a ton of times. I went over it a ton of times, added stuff, took stuff out. I kept putting off recording it. I recorded a version of it, wasn't a big fan of it. I kept not liking where I was going to record. It probably looks like I'm in a purple bunker at the moment. I wrestled with what to say. I wrestled with what to include. But I don't want to censor myself anymore. I want to be me. And I want to build this company, you know? So one of the reasons that I struggled was I was sort of smacked in the face with a few potential realities. The first one is I knew full and well that if I made any projects with God, with faith, or frankly just basic morality involved, at least insofar as the mainstream is concerned, I would effectively ruin any chance that I ever had of seeing my name again in The Hollywood Reporter or being in Variety or having my film picked up by a major distributor. Of course, that very well may have never happened anyway, but this sort of sealed the deal. Perhaps not. Perhaps I'm wrong, but it's a potent possibility. It's not terribly popular to talk about your faith right now. It's not popular to talk about your faith in God or about your religion. In fact, it's very popular to ridicule it. Specifically, it's very popular to ridicule Christianity and Catholicism. It's not very popular today to stand up for morality, to talk about morality, to talk about what's right. But it's very popular to embrace non-reality, and it's very popular to really focus on oneself. And so as I went through this, though, and I prayed on it, and I thought about it, I had a series of truly wonderful revelations, which is why I titled this episode, Revelation. That was terrible. So some clarity set in for me. I'm in love with the art of cinema. I'm not in love with the film industry. I don't care in the least what anyone in Hollywood thinks of me, and I never will. In fact, there are a whole slew of people in Hollywood whose favorable opinion of me would probably mean that I'm doing something wrong. The opinions I care about are God's and my family. And speaking truth and speaking reality should not be two things that anyone is ever afraid of doing. And there are a few times in this country when I think it's been harder to do so. But then I also realized, for every potential viewer or listener or fan that I might lose, not that I necessarily had any fans, there are a lot of people on this planet that believe in what I believe, and that have faith, that would like to see movies with some faith involved. Good movies, thoughtful movies, scary movies, funny movies. And there are people that would like to see movies by filmmakers and companies that don't despise them, that don't outwardly ridicule their beliefs. Filmmakers and companies that have some semblance of a moral compass. Filmmakers and companies that don't laugh in the face of God, but actually strive to do exactly the opposite of that. There's a whole demographic of human beings on this earth of every race, every nationality, every background and heart that are tired of being spoken down to. I certainly count myself as one of them. And I think no matter what streaming service you use, no matter what social media you use, no matter what educational system you have gone through, there is a certain element of an erosion of basic moral foundation. And it's gotten worse and worse. And this whole episode is not going to be a downer or an attack on anyone or any institution, but I do think it's pretty obvious that there are some problems that we have culturally. At XNIGHTSAINT, I want to make thoughtful films that everyone can come to and enjoy, assuming I make good films, just to be clear. I'll do my best. And our films won't just be for people of faith. A great dream of mine is for somebody without faith or isn't that connected to their faith to drop in and watch the movie and think, wow, that character wrestled with problems that I can relate to using their faith. Because I think for a lot of people that don't have faith, faith is an abstraction for a lot of people, or people that maybe went through Catholic school for a little bit and then went through public education, or whatever it might be. And there's so much talk about representation of this and that, but the idea of representing faith in cinema or a love of God or, morality seems to be more of an abstract thing than anything else now. And I love the idea of someone walking in to a movie theater or just hitting play on one of the films from XNIGHTSAINT and going, oh, I wasn't really expecting that, but I did notice that character grappled with a handful of problems that I'm currently going with, and through prayer and through their belief, got through it. And that's a major component of the company for me, and kind of what I want to do with the films and the movies that I want to make. I want to bring God to people, whether they believe, whether they're unsure, or haven't said hello to him in a while. That's a big part of this for me. Perhaps oversimplified, I want to spread the word of God. I want to spread the good news. I want to use and build a platform that spreads love, that spreads morality, that spreads goodness, joy, and highlights where all of that comes from, which is God. Now, we're going to talk about a whole lot of things on this show in the future, and I want to make one thing really, really clear. It's really easy for us to be cynical of other people, especially when we disagree with them. I've been in bed with that my whole life. I think it's something that every person wrestles with. There's this natural inclination. If you hear something that you very obviously don't agree with for whatever reason, we kind of, especially now with social media, kind of get ferocious and really worked up and really angry. Pointing out evil is essential, but we also don't want to villainize people. We don't want to villainize each other. That's one of the big problems that we have in this country, is that we go at each other as hard as we can. We kind of skip the conversation. So when I talk about these things, I'm not villainizing anybody. And if someone, and I think a lot of people too have very good intentions, and I think their heart might be coming from the right place, even if what I would say wildly incorrect or kind of incoherent ways of getting to that. I think a lot of people's hearts might be in the right place, but they might not be going about it in the right way. And we're all guilty of that from time to time, but I want to make it very clear that I'm not here to villainize anyone whose opinions differ from mine, but I am going to say the truth and talk about reality and what is. So just to warn everyone. Another thing too, especially with the youngest generation that we have now coming up, I don't know what we expect from people when they go through, they hear one thing from their media. They hear one thing from their government. They hear one thing in preschool and then elementary school and then high school and then college. And they go on social media, they hear one thing. They watch every movie out of Hollywood. They see one thing, they hear one thing. So I'd like to be a counter to that a little bit, but we need to educate and not to ridicule. And another thing too is that this is not about me being right. If we ever get into any current topics or anything like that, it's about God's word and what God taught us. And I think that's again one of the pitfalls that we all fall into, especially in the era of social media, where we kind of go at people as hard as we can, and it becomes more about me proving to myself that I'm right about something, or me publicly proving that someone is wrong, instead of having intelligent conversation. Are we a faith-based company, XNIGHTSAINT? I don't really know, because I don't know what that means. I don't know why it's such an abnormal and such an abstract idea to have like a scary horror movie feature a love of God in it, Is a film where somebody calculates a tip for a check like a math-based movie? Is Singing in the Rain a weather-based movie? It's such a weird thing that we've created this othering, like we've put in the corner, it's a faith-based film. It's faith-based. So I don't know what that means. I'm going to talk about my faith. I'm going to do it really proudly and really happily. And the projects that we have are going to have faith involved in them. So if you want to call us faith-based, that's great. And if you just want to call them movies, that's great too. But one thing that's very important to me is I want to destigmatize what never should have been stigmatized in the first place and normalize what should have always been normal. That is a very key component. Some of you at this point, if you're 15 minutes in listening to this, you might be wondering why I'm going on so much about morality and the state of things when this is indeed going to be a film company making movies and entertainment. I think it's important. I do. And I want all of you lovely people to know where I'm coming from as a person and as a company and what we stand for. There's going to be a lot of fun, hilarious, entertaining. I'm reading from this. I wrote a lot in all caps of fun, hilarious, entertaining, thoughtful times ahead for this company. But I do think it's important that certain things are addressed so that everything is ordered and truthful. So on also a more serious note, a big motivating factor for me is this. And this hit me really hard a number of months ago when I was thinking about it. And again, it all circles back to having wanted my whole life to make movies, succeeding once, failing a lot of other times, and that's all okay. That's part of the process. But thinking about it and thinking about the future of my career, but also thinking about the future of what then was New Animal and then what became XNIGHTSAINT is this. At the end of my life, when my grandchildren come up to me and they look at me and they say, Grandpa, when you were younger and you really had an opportunity, you had a voice, you had a lot of blessings, you had your health, you were an artist, you were a filmmaker, you were a writer. And when you looked around and saw all of the things that were going on that you knew in your heart were not right, what did you do about it? And I refuse to think about that and know that I will say I did nothing. That is a major part of this company for me. I know that's very, very serious, but I have an opportunity here, and we all have an opportunity here. Every day we have an opportunity to do the right thing, to be less selfish, to love our neighbor, to reach out to people, to help people, and to spread a morally positive message and a God-based message. And I want to do that. But I keep thinking about that, when I'm like 90 years old and I am asked, what did you do when you had a chance to do something? I cannot say that I did nothing. So that is a big part of this for me. And even if I do my absolute best to be a good, we throw around words like good and decent. I also think, what is God going to say to me when my time comes? Why didn't you do anything when you saw all of this? As Dietrich Bonhoeffer said, quote, silence in the face of evil is evil itself. No, that's not the quote. I messed that up. Quote, silence in the face of evil is itself evil. God will not hold us guiltless. Not to speak is to speak. Not to act is to act. End quote. So for me, I think it's time for good people to stand up and preach good things. That's what I'm trying to do. I think it's time to remind each other how much we have in common, how much we have that unites us. We're really big on pointing out everything that is different about each other, intentionally to sow division amongst each other. But believe it or not, as human beings, we have a lot in common, a lot. I'm staring right into the camera if you're listening to this. We have a lot in common. I'm saying this from the depths of my heart and my soul. I think at some point, the voices of good, the voices that want to defend goodness and defend beauty and defend good things and defend life, they need to be at least as loud as the voices that are screaming the opposite of that. And this is my small part and the small start to that for me. I want to shout that goodness. I want to spread the good news, and I want to unite people. And I know a lot of you are thinking, Colin, I've heard you make the worst jokes on the planet and say inappropriate things and use profanity. That is all true. Every little bit of it. I'm the most flawed person I know, but that's part of the beauty of having faith and having a forgiving God is trying to get better and be better. So please know that I, again, am the most flawed person I know. I'm not one, two, and it's not my place to cast judgment on anyone. These are just my thoughts and feelings about the state of things right now. Everybody is welcomed. Everybody is welcomed to XNIGHTSAINT. I know a lot of this is heavy, but sometimes I think it's important to address things when a lot of people are not addressing these things. So let's talk about movies, shall we? Let's make some movies. What is XNIGHT doing? What is this? What is this thing that I'm doing? I've been ranting for 20 minutes. What's up with this guy? This guy's just going on and on and on. So some of you know some of the projects, either privately. I've talked publicly about a couple of projects coming up. We're going to make some announcements soon, but this is the general aura. The aura. I do like this light. I hope you guys like this. Make a comment about whether you like this light or not. I know I got to put stuff on the walls. Anyway, I'm going to move on. I'm going to raise money independently to finance my films. That's probably not a big shock. Most of us do that. That's what I've been doing my whole life, or trying to. I will say I encourage all of you, if you share any of these beliefs or any of these morals, if any of this connected with you in any way, or if you are a potential desirer, I wrote that, desirer of movie, I'm a writer, desirer of movies that entertain, but that also hopefully you won't find offensive, please do spread the word about this company. And this show. Some of you might be watching this on YouTube. Some of you are listening to this on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. This company is truly at the ground level. This is truly a super small thing that I'm creating. This can only be successful if like-minded people who want to change people's minds about things in the world and also want really entertaining cinema support the company. And the easiest ways to do that are to leave ratings and reviews. I've gone on about that. Everyone's gone on about that forever. Rate and review, subscribe, rate and review. I know it seems silly. It sounds like a popularity contest, which is kind of, you would think, the opposite of what I'm trying to do. This is not about me being popular. But if the show gets ratings and reviews, it is more likely to pop up in the algorithms for people searching for similar shows, whether they're movie shows or shows about faith or Christianity or whatever it might be. It's probably not going to pop up unless it gets quite a few reviews and ratings. So if you do like it, follow it on Spotify, subscribe on Apple Podcasts, subscribe on YouTube. I'm sorry in advance if I harp on that a lot. But it really is the only way that a small company like this can really work. I'm just reading through all my ranting here. No, but in all honesty, too, I really want to make this my career. I know there are millions of people that want to make films professionally and make that a career, but I truly believe in this company and in the mission. I know this might be a slightly messy first episode. It's gone through many iterations. I've done a lot of editing, a lot of writing on it, trying to include everything that I wanted to say in the exact right way that I wanted to say it. Also haven't been on camera doing it this way before, so this will get cleaner. I'll put some stuff on the walls behind me, and hopefully it'll be more exciting to look at as well. I truly want to build something special for the entire world. I want to make films that make people think. I want to be truthful and warm and inviting and kind, and I want to bring an audience together. And I want to build a brand that people are excited to support, and I want to build a company that respects you. Now, this is just for you to ask yourself, because I've asked myself this, and I've had many conversations about this before. Do you ever feel that when you put on Netflix or you put on Hulu, pretty much any streaming service that's out there, that the vast majority of shows don't reflect your moral beliefs at all? So that happens to me all the time. I'm not going to call it any shows specifically, but the vast majority of shows, if you just click, just randomly go, or you look at the key art, scrolling through Netflix, I want to be the opposite of that. I really do. I want to be a company that promotes faith, that promotes God, that promotes morality, but that does it in maybe a different way, a slightly different way. And there's going to be a lot more on that very soon. There's going to be a special announcement episode of the actual films that we're looking to make soon. I'm so excited. I just want to do it right now, but I'm not going to. We need content. I'm just kidding. But I am going to wait, but that will be coming soon. It's also a goal of XNIGHTSAINT. We're going to be donating a percentage of all revenue to various causes. Now, I don't have the list of causes yet. That is something that we are working on, and I can't commit to a number yet in terms of what percentage until some lawyers and accountants scream at me. But that is the goal. So we're going to have a flat rate percentage, and I will make this very public and very clear before we accept any money from anyone for anything, but that are going to be perpetually going to a list of causes that you can look at, and we'll have links to what all of them are so you guys can know where your money is going, at least partially. So we're very excited about that. So what else is XNIGHTSAINT doing? We have a podcast, and I bet you know that because you're listening to it right now. I'm so wacky. So I went on the whole rant about liking and following. That's really, really important. What would really sincerely be important if you've made it 25 minutes into this show, let people know about this first episode, as rocky as it might be. I go over a lot of stuff, obviously, about what I want the company to be, but I think this first episode is a really nice introduction to what we're trying to do with the company and the show and the YouTube channel. So please do that. If you like this and you like the idea of it, and it's really funny because I wrote notes about this. One of the big struggles for me was, what is the show? I had the vision for the company. Personally, I love the name XNIGHTSAINT. It'll be revealed exactly what that means if you scroll through our social media and where the name came from. I know what the vision is and what I want to do with the company. And for me, I was like, well, I got to do a podcast. I had a blast doing New Animal, but New Animal was very obvious. It was very easy. We just talked about making movies, really from an independent standpoint. So we had a lot of amazing guests. And if any of you are listening now, thank you so much for listening to the show. And thank you so much for being on the show, all of our amazing guests. And so the answer to what the podcast of XNIGHTSAINT is going to be is, I don't know. I just started the company. I really don't know. We're going to talk about movies. We're going to talk a lot about movies. I already recorded an episode with a filmmaker of a very cool film that's going to be coming out very soon. It was a great conversation. He was very patient with me. It's been a while since I've interviewed anyone. He was fantastic. I'm excited for you guys to hear that. But we're going to do interviews. We're going to talk about movies. We're going to talk about genre deep dives. We might go into some books that I have read that I like, that I just want to promote. We might talk about current events, and then we're going to circle back to cinema. There's a couple of for sures, though. So there's a couple of things that I'm for sure going to be doing. Number one is what we call movie nights. So there's going to be episodes just called movie nights where I just highlight one film and I talk about it. It's going to be difficult because I have lists of thousands of movies that I want to talk about on this show. I started jotting them down and it just grew into this massive list. So my goal with movie night is really to highlight some movies that I think are classics that maybe people haven't come across. For those that know me, I'm an enormous fan of films from the 30s, 40s, and 50s. So I'd really like to highlight some of those. So we're going to do movie night episodes. I also want to do a Kids Corner series. I'm not sure how often these are going to happen on the main feed just yet, but the Kids Corner series are going to be a series of movies that, number one, are 100% safe for kids to watch. I know you're relying on my judgment on that, but these are going to be mostly classic movies, again, from the 30s and the 40s, that might not cross someone's mind or cross someone's path to show their kids. And I also don't have kids, so you could just eviscerate me by recommending certain movies. But there's been a lot of classic movies that I've seen that I'm like, oh, there's a lot of really good life lessons in that are told in a non-vulgar, really fun way. And of course, there's tons of classic, Marx Brothers, and there's so many movies that you can show your kids. But so I'm gonna have a Kids Corner element, and there's gonna be a lot of other stuff on this show. So we're gonna go crazy. There's gonna be a little bit of everything. We have a Patreon. So why should you sign up for Patreon? Frankly, right now you probably shouldn't. But there is something exciting coming up that I'm going to pitch to you right now in a very vague manner that might get you excited for Patreon. So our Patreon right now is live. You can go there. The kind of basic level things, we're going to do bonus movie night episodes. You guys can also, if you like my commentary on movies, as the weeks and the months go, you can actually vote on the movie that I watch. So if there's something that you want to hear me talk about. But here's the really cool thing, and this is going to be Patreon only. Once we announce what the next movie, in parentheses and S, movies are going to be, what our slate is as a company, Patreon is going to be the only place where we're actually going to chronicle the entire production, well, pre-production, production, post-production, the whole journey of making these movies on Patreon. So it's going to be everything from development, script, casting, producing, budgeting, scheduling, audio and video going. It's going to essentially be like a 100-hour documentary in real time. So once we get going on those projects, putting the money together, going into pre-production, all the way through production into post-production, it'll kind of just be like this community of people making a movie together. So that's the primary thing of what Patreon is going to be. We're going to announce what the projects are and what the movies are not too long from now. I don't have a date yet, but it's probably going to be in the next few months of what we're looking to make. So you can wait till then. You can never do Patreon. I just want you to know that it exists. It's patreon.com/XNIGHTSAINT. There'll be links everywhere. I'll be very obnoxious in promoting it as well as this show. We're going to have a store. There's going to be an XNIGHTSAINT store. There's actually going to be several of them. We have a lot of merchandise planned. So if you do like the show, again, I know this is the first episode and I'm a ranter, but if you do like the company and you like what we stand for, we are going to have apparel. And we're actually going to have a lot of other cool things that I don't want to spoil yet, but we are going to have a store up and running in the next month or so. As I mentioned too, we're going to be donating. The list of who we're donating to is going to be available on our website. We will have a website. The website is not up yet. That is also up and coming. So if you want to follow us or check us out, please do so on YouTube. Please subscribe. I'm looking right into the camera now. Right into the camera. But please subscribe to our YouTube channel at XNIGHTSAINT. Follow us on Instagram or X. Everyone says formerly known as Twitter. Like we don't know that already. How long is that? How many years is that going to last? Formerly known as Twitter. Follow us on X. I probably will do nothing on X, but we're there. Instagram, we're going to do a lot. We're going to do things every day. So follow us for the most up-to-date stuff. Definitely check us out on Instagram. There's going to be a lot coming down the pipeline. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for listening to this first episode. It means a lot. Now I just want to chat and hang out, even though I already recorded the whole episode. Thank you for dealing with my ums. I probably threw some ums in there. Thank you for dealing with me reading while on video. I should probably wrap this up. You guys want to get going. Thank you very, very much for being here. Thank you for letting me introduce XNIGHTSAINT to you. I really can't wait to build this company, and I can't wait to have you all along for the ride. All right, a lot more soon. Thank you, guys. Stay safe. God bless.